Hacía mucho que no hablábamos de Estados Unidos y el mes pasado ha habido un poco de marejada en el grupo Comcast, que es un grupo que tiene dos cadenas de noticias, una la NBC News, que sería la generalista, y otra MSNBC, que sería una más bien progresista. Recordemos que la MSNBC fue fundada en su momento por el señor Jack Welch y por el señor Bill Gates, es decir, por General Electric y por Microsoft.
But what kind of information will the Welch, chairman of NBC's parent company General Electric, said GE and Microsoft were logical partners.
This is the very beginning of the interactive world.
As for timetable, executives say the new cable channel and online service will be phased in.
¿Cómo podrá competir con la MSNBC que cuenta con los recursos de Microsoft y General Electric?
Con la idea de que fuera una alternativa más progresista a el canal de Todo Noticias por Cable, Fox News, que era el conservador. Actualmente, el dueño de la MSNBC y de todo el grupo Comcast es el señor Brian Roberts. Y su grupo no es muy querido por los comentaristas derechistas como el señor Glenn Beck, que la comparaba a la MSNBC con el anticristo.
I believe that MSNBC has become the most anti-God network ever put on the air.
It's possible.
In the history of America. If you really want to understand what we're talking about, you have to understand the book of Revelation, which we know that there are people that don't believe in that. We showed you that on Friday's broadcast. There's a whole network that seems to be the anti-God network.
Naturalmente al señor Donald Trump tampoco le cae demasiado bien ni la MSNBC ni el grupo Comcast. Y es curioso el tema de que no le caiga bien el grupo Comcast porque el señor Trump trabajó para ellos. Porque el programa que él hacía, el del aprendiz, el de estás despedido, se hacía precisamente en la NBC.
I think they're very bad for our country. The owners of Comcast, rotten company, bad for our country, very bad. They try, they have all these PR things to try and keep their image nice and clean. What they do on television is so disgusting. I think in the old days you had to have licenses for this stuff, right? They can say whatever they want to say. Let's see what happens over the next period of time. Bunch of dishonest people. Comcast, terrible company, terrible people running that company. And you know what? I had Celebrity Apprentice. I had The Apprentice on for 14 seasons. 14 seasons. And they used to come to my office and they would kiss my ass. Please sign. Please sign. Please. Please sign. It's an interesting story. They came and we signed. You know who signed me? Jeff Zucker. It's one of the only things he's done good in broadcasting. But I signed, and NBC, as you know, is owned by Comcast. But I signed, and they figured the show would be a total failure, so they only signed me for one season. I was going to have it. It was going to go on. And then the show started at 10, went to 8, went to 7, went to 5, went to 4, went to 2. It went to 1. I had the number 1 show on all of television. Number 1. Because when I left, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I like Arnold said some very nice things the other day, so I'm not... But the show did not exactly succeed when I left. But I had it on, and they wanted me to sign for more, and I said, no, I'm going to run for president. He said, sir, the show just went to number 1. I'd love to see you because I think I'm entitled to more money. I said, you didn't want me to do the show. Well, not really. I mean, I was okay. He said, I'd really like more money. I said, Jim, I like you very much. Jim, you're fired. Get out.
Digamos que históricamente la MSNBC tiene 3 grandes estrellas. La más grande sin duda sería la señora Rachel Maddow, la que casi lloró cuando tuvo que anunciar que había ganado el señor Donald Trump las elecciones.
You're awake, by the way. You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country. It's real.
Rachel Maddow, por cierto, que es discípula del señor Roger Ailes, pero eso es otra historia. Otra figura estrella, la de las mañanas, el señor Joe Scarborough, del que ya hemos hablado mucho en este canal, que sería como el converso, el que había sido diputado derechista en el pasado y en los últimos 20 años ha evolucionado al progresismo.
And they're not going to tell the president that either suggests that he is so addled and mentally deficient.
that they didn't think it was worth their time telling him, or that he's a source of the Russians and that they couldn't trust him. There's no other good explanation of why you wouldn't tell the president that the leader of Russia is putting bounties on the heads of young American.
Y por último, la figura de el señor Chris Matthews. El señor Matthews hacía un programa llamado Hardball, que era, podríamos considerar, favorable al Partido Demócrata, no en balde había sido congresista del Partido Demócrata en el pasado, y donde aún así no le importaba conectar con gente conservadora para tener célebres broncas y discusiones.
If you're going to ask a question, well, that's a tough question. It takes a few words. Get out of my face. If you're going to ask me a question, step back and let me answer. You know, I wish we lived in the day where you could challenge a person to a duel. Now that would be pretty good. But don't pull that. Wait a minute. Don't pull that kind of stuff on me like you did that young lady when you had her there browbeating her to death. Yeah, well, I'm not her. I'm not her. Let me tell you, she was suggesting. You get in my face, I'm going to get back in your face.
Shot himself and I was trying to correct the record.
The only reason you're doing it is because you're standing way over.
Ask you, what did Chamberlain do wrong? Neville Chamberlain do wrong in 1939? What did he do wrong?
It all goes back to appeasement.
No, what did he do? Tell me what he did.
It's the key term.
You have to answer this question. What did he do?
It's the same thing. It puts it all.
Well, tell me what he did.
He's talking about appeasement.
What did Chamberlain do wrong?
His actions enabled, energized, legitimized. It's the exact same.
I'm not going to continue with this interview unless you answer what that thing is. What did Chamberlain do in 39? Tell me.
Chris, it's the exact same thing. All right?
What did he do? What did he do?
What, 38, 39, Chris? What year do you want? It doesn't. It's the exact same thing that happened, Chris.
What did Chamberlain?
He's talking about appeasement.
Y naturalmente uno de sus blancos favoritos era el señor Donald Trump.
Donald Trump never took Winston Churchill's advice to study history. Maybe we'll strike it just right. Like the proverbial monkey, given enough time on the keyboard, will type Merry Christmas. But shouldn't we dread the thought of how many other combinations he's capable of in the meantime? Here's something to really worry about. Late today in his press conference, I thought for a few minutes that when Trump was talking about giving our relationship with Russia time, when he talked about really getting to know China's president, Xi, when he called Bashar al-Assad a butcher, I thought I heard someone say Merry Christmas.
Uno de los puntos que más le criticaban es por haber comparado la forma de hacer política del señor Trump con la forma de hacer política de Adolf Hitler.
When he said today, America first, it was not just the racial, I should say racial, the Hitlerian background to it, but it was the message I kept thinking, what does Theresa May think of this morning when she picks up the papers and says, oh my God, what did he just say?
Sin embargo, no fue esto lo que causó la caída del señor Chris Matthews. Lo que provocó la caída del señor Chris Matthews fue el Me Too, porque recibió quejas de conducta inadecuada. Sin muchos detalles, no sabemos si se refiere a que hacía chistes verdes o comentarios con piropeos babosos, por lo que fuera. El caso es que un día el señor Chris Matthews compareció y dijo que dejaba el programa y se retiraba.
Let me start with my headline tonight. I'm retiring. This is the last hardball on MSNBC, and obviously this isn't for lack of interest in politics. As you can tell, I've loved every minute of my 20 years as host of Hardball. Compliments on a woman's appearance that some men, including me, might have once incorrectly thought were okay. We're never okay. Not then and certainly not today. And for making such comments in the past, I'm sorry.
No está claro si el grupo Comcast era el más indicado para dar lecciones de Me Too a sus profesionales. No solo porque dentro del grupo Comcast había un presentador que directamente estaba acusado de conducta inapropiada un poco más directa que la de Chris Matthews, que era el señor Matt Lauer.
And Hoda's here with me this morning because this is a sad morning here at Today and at NBC News. Just moments ago, NBC News Chairman Andy Lack sent the following note to our organization. Dear colleagues, on Monday night we received a detailed complaint from a colleague about inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace by Matt Lauer. It represented, after serious review, a clear violation of our company's standards. As a result, we have decided to terminate his employment. While it is the first complaint about his behavior in the over 20 years he has been at NBC News, we were also presented with reason to believe this may not have been an isolated incident.
Sino porque en la propia cúpula de la NBC News fueron acusados de haber encubierto el caso de Harvey Weinstein, porque el periodista que investigó el caso Harvey Weinstein quiso publicarlo en primer lugar en la NBC, mucho antes de ir al New Yorker, y no quisieron publicárselo porque parece ser que los directivos tenían muy buena opinión de Harvey Weinstein.
This is the same network that did air this piece of corporate puffery. But it's not just Weinstein who should be on trial. For decades, powerful figures in the media and entertainment industries chose to ignore or cover up his evil. Before the New York Times blew the cover off it all on October the 5th, 2017, investigative journalist Ronan Farrow had been working on his own expose of Harvey Weinstein that was meticulously researched and corroborated by several of Weinstein's victims. He was working on this for NBC News, but instead of airing what would later turn out to be a Pulitzer Prize-winning story, the network tried to prevent it from ever seeing the light of day. Let's take a look at some other NBC executives. This is Steve Burke, CEO of NBC Universal. A former member of Weinstein's staff said that Burke was, quote, in Weinstein's pocket. This is Brian Roberts, CEO of Comcast, NBC's parent company. He described his friendship with Weinstein as a joy. In a past interview, when asked about Weinstein's reputation as a bully, Roberts said, I don't personally get put off by all these Hollywoodisms. I think he's like a teddy bear. What? Noah Oppenheim became a senior vice president at NBC News in 2015 and was given control of the Today Show around the same time that Ronan Farrow launched a regular investigative segment on the program. This is who we are, says the NBC News tagline. Well, this is who Noah Oppenheim is. Here's what he wrote about women when he was at Harvard. Quote, women who felt threatened by the club's environment should seek tamer pastures. However, apparently, women enjoy being confined, pumped full of alcohol, and preyed upon. It's no surprise then that Noah Oppenheim was pals with Harvey Weinstein. They would sit together at industry dinners, exchange cute little gifts, stay in touch. They especially stayed in touch once Ronan Farrow began digging into Weinstein's horrific, decades-long history of violent sexual assaults.
El tema es que cuando cae Chris Matthews, escogen para sustituirle a una periodista que sea mujer y activista, y esa es la señora Joy Reid, que es quien conducía desde entonces el programa en la misma franja horaria en la que lo había hecho el señor Chris Matthews. Y no parecía una mala sustitución porque la señora Reid hacía lo mismo que había hecho el señor Matthews, que era comparar la forma de ser del presidente, el señor Donald Trump, con la del dictador nazi Adolf Hitler. De hecho, aprovechó el aniversario de la tragedia de Auschwitz para compararlo con la administración del señor Trump con el tema de la inmigración.
If that sounds vaguely familiar, that's because it is. Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme. Trump and Stephen Miller, his former director of speechwriting, depict non-white immigrants as carriers of deadly diseases who are violent terrorists. Trump was returned to the presidency after staging a coup and has exerted control of media or social media in order to parrot anti-immigrant vitriol and openly hateful anti-LGBTQ language, which is what Meta just did. And then there are the business leaders who pay him, fund him, and think they can control him.
Es cierto que al acabar dijo, y que conste que no quiero compararlo, pero es lo que parecía que acababa de hacer.
Now let me be very clear. I'm not saying that Donald Trump, his administration, or his supporters want to exterminate millions of people in death camps. But just ask yourself, who do they...
No sería la última vez que decía que las formas de la administración Trump tenían dialéctica fascista y dejes hitlerianos.
Political tactic. The question now for America is, have we gotten to the point where we would destroy our own economy and walk willingly into a Hitlerian dictatorship because of the fear Donald Trump and his MAGA cronies are perpetuating solely for their own political benefit?
Una cosa que le criticaron a la señora Joy Reid es que en las últimas elecciones presidenciales sacó una tabla donde decían que mientras que la mayoría de blancos había votado al señor Trump, la mayoría de negros había votado a la señora Kamala Harris, y en el caso de los latinos también había mayoría a Trump, y ella hizo un reproche a los latinos por ello.
It was also men Trump won every age group of men, including 60% of Gen X men and 6 in 10 white men. Also Latino men, who despite the utter disrespect shown by Trump and his promise to deport some of your mixed status families, most of them voted in a 55% majority to make the deportations happen. Y'all voted with Stephen Miller and David Duke and against your own sisters and chose Kamala Harris with 60% of their votes. So you own everything that happens to your mixed status families and to your wives, sisters, and abuelas from here on in.
Un momento polémico reciente del programa de la señora Joy Reid es cuando el señor Donald Trump fue puesto en portada de la revista Time como personaje del año, lo cual podía tener cierta lógica si se tiene en cuenta que había ganado las elecciones. Y es muy curioso que cuando la señora Reid lo comentó en su programa, dijo, hombre, el señor Trump ha sido portada del año de la revista Time, al igual que estas otras personas, y escogió precisamente a estas.
I can't deny the fact that you like me right now. You like me. No. As Time magazine describes it, for 97 years, the editors of Time have been picking the person of the year, the individual who, for better or for worse, did the most to shape the world and the headlines over the past 12 months. In many years, that choice is a difficult one. In 2024, it was not. The key line, for better or for worse, is not much of a ringing endorsement, and we all know which one Trump falls under. And let's remember who else has been given this title in years past in the same category: Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Ayatollah Khomeini, and Vladimir Putin. In fact, Stalin won the distinction twice, just like Trump.
Teniendo en cuenta que también fueron personajes del año de la revista Time, figuras como el señor Kennedy, el señor Obama o el que fuera alcalde de la ciudad del 11S, el señor Giuliani, es llamativo que escogiera justo compararlo con Hitler, Stalin o el Ayatollah Khomeini. Aunque puestos a hacer comparaciones, en el programa de Joy Reid también se ha comparado al señor Trump con David Koresh, el de la secta de los davinianos que ocasionó aquella matanza de principios de los 90, o con el mismo Manson.
And, you know, what Donald Trump is doing, it's equal parts the power of positive thinking, which is the church to the extent that it's a church that he grew up in. But it's also, it's kind of David Koresh. It's kind of Jim Jones. Yeah. Because those two men started by saying you need to come to Jesus. They started as Christian evangelizers. But eventually their evangelism said, no, I get to have your wife.
Sea como fuere, los datos de audiencia de la MSNBC no han sido muy buenos en la última etapa y sigue estando muy por detrás de Fox News, que es la que lidera a las cadenas de televisión por cable. Por lo que a principios de este año, el señor Brian Roberts, el jefe del grupo Comcast, decidió prescindir de la presidenta de la MSNBC, la señora Rashida Jones. Y la nueva directiva, seguramente siguiendo órdenes del señor Brian Roberts, ha decidido prescindir de los servicios de Joy Reid. La señora Rachel Maddow, la principal estrella de la MSNBC, dedicó 5 minutos de su programa para lamentar la marcha de la señora Joy Reid de su espacio.
You may have already heard about changes that have been announced at MSNBC over the last couple of days. The new president of our network made it official today. An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take.
Lo cual es un gesto de compañerismo bastante bonito. Solo me chirrió que la señora Maddow dijo entre los motivos por los que lo lamentaba, que además lamentaba que se fuera porque era negra. Y se reducía con su marcha la presencia de figuras racializadas en medios de comunicación importantes de Estados Unidos.
I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible.
Me gustaría pensar que el motivo por el que sea bueno o malo que una persona esté en televisión no sea el color de su piel, aunque entiendo por qué lo está diciendo. Diferente es la actitud del señor Donald Trump, que no podía perder la ocasión de comentar este tema, y puso un mensaje en el que dejaba claro que sigue opinando lo mismo sobre el dueño del grupo Comcast, porque él escribía: el deshonesto presidente de Comcast, está escrito mal a propósito porque es Comcast y él pone Comcast, Brian Roberts, el deshonesto presidente de Comcast, Brian Roberts, por fin se ha atrevido a despedir a una de las personas menos talentosas de la televisión, la racista y detestable Joy Reid. Lo de racista es porque antes de trabajar en la MSNBC había escrito artículos Joy Reid que eran muy críticos contra los judíos y contra el Estado de Israel, de ahí que la ponga la racista, etc. A juzgar por los índices de audiencia, que eran prácticamente inexistentes, debería haberla despedido hace mucho tiempo junto con todos los que trabajan allí. También echaron a Alex Wagner, el subdirector del programa de Rachel Maddow, que está fracasando. Rachel rara vez aparece porque sabe que no hay nadie viéndola, y también sabe que tiene menos imagen televisiva que prácticamente cualquier otra persona, excepto quizá la propia Joy Reid. Y luego está, por supuesto, el estafador de bajo coeficiente intelectual, Al Sarzot, quien tiene quizá los índices de audiencia más bajos de la historia de la televisión. ¿Qué le está haciendo a Brian Roberts para seguir en antena? Toda esta operación corrupta no es más que un brazo ilegal del Partido Demócrata. Deberían ser obligados a pagar enormes cantidades de dinero por el daño que le han causado a nuestro país. Las fake news son un pecado imperdonable. Aquí todo el mundo acusa a sus rivales de fake news. A mí me llama la atención porque todo esto que dice el señor Donald Trump es lo que uno esperaría que dijeran los periodistas amigos del presidente o el jefe de prensa del presidente, pero el propio presidente de Estados Unidos, ya hombre, es que es muy directo, sí, pero diría que el presidente de Estados Unidos igual tiene cosas más importantes que hacer que opinar la programación de un medio privado como es la MSNBC. En todo caso, al contrario que los cambios del Washington Post, que sí tienen un tufo editorial, a un cambio de línea editorial, quizá motivado porque el señor Jeff Bezos no quiere que el señor Trump cumpla la amenaza que hizo antes de ser presidente de que iba a obligarle a pagar los impuestos en Estados Unidos como venganza por la hostilidad que había en aquella época del Post contra el señor Trump.
Because every hour we're getting calls from reporters on the Washington Post asking ridiculous questions. And I will tell you, this is owned as a toy by Jeff Bezos, who controls Amazon. Amazon is getting away with murder tax-wise. He's using the Washington Post for power so that the politicians in Washington don't tax Amazon like they should be taxed. He's getting absolutely away. He's worried about me, and I think he said that to somebody. It was in some article where he thinks I would go after him for antitrust because he's got a huge antitrust problem because he's controlling so much. Amazon is controlling so much of what they're doing. Likewise, Amazon, which through its ownership controls the Washington Post, should be paying massive taxes, but it's not paying. And it's a very unfair playing field. And you see what that's happening and what that's doing to department stores all over the country. Very, very unfair, and you're talking about billions and billions of dollars. They should be paying those taxes.
Por lo que si ahora que el Post ha dicho que ya no va a criticar tanto al señor Trump, o por lo menos que ya no va a combatirle, casualmente el señor Trump no cumpliera esa amenaza, pues el tufo a operación política sería demasiado evidente. En el caso de MSNBC, parece que la caída de John Reid tiene básicamente que ver con un tema de audiencia y probablemente quien venga después mantendrá la misma línea editorial y también comparará a Trump con Hitler o cosa similar, porque de lo contrario, si MSNBC dejara de ser hostil a la administración Trump, sería tanto como suicidarse de cara a su audiencia.
Jim, you're fired. Get out.